I have created a video training series that is designed to provide you with a line learning technique that combines the art of acting with the science of memory. Once you have a thorough understanding of this technique, you will always have a means to begin your acting approach immediately and meaningfully. This single video, however, is designed to give you the highlights of that technique in a way that will give those who are struggling with their lines in a current acting assignment the means to transform that struggle into something that will provide a path forward. First of all, let's dispel a couple of myths. First, you don't need someone to run your lines with you. This notion limits the amount of time that you can work on your lines. Not only that, but it's also counterproductive. The most important part of your line learning technique must be done on your own. You will not learn your lines one line at a time with this technique. You will begin by learning a page of dialogue at a time. This way, you will not only learn your lines more quickly, but you will have the added benefit of learning your cues, which will make vital connection to your lines. Instead of waiting for your cue, you will anticipate your cue. This line learning technique employs what we refer to as the 3-3-3 pattern. The rule of threes is a scientific, psychological, and artistic theory that suggests the brain attaches significance to anything that is presented to it in a pattern of three. There are naturally three phases to which you will employ the 3-3-3 pattern. The first is known as the reading phase. In this phase, you will employ performance energy to create a powerful reading of your lines. This phase operates on the assumption that after you have read your lines 3 times, powerfully, accurately, and slowly off the page, you will have that page of dialogue memorized. However, it's not enough to memorize your lines. You will need to be able to access them automatically, immediately, after your cue has been delivered. You will practice this in the second phase of the 3-3-3 pattern that we refer to as the accessing phase. In the third phase of the 3-3-3 pattern, you will employ the acting phase. It is during this phase that you will practice listening to your cues as you anticipate your delivery. During this phase, you will be making specific acting choices with the lines that you accurately stored during the reading phase and learn how to deliver on cue during the accessing phase. Once you have experienced the reading phase, you will at first be amazed. Then you will never go back to the way you learned lines before. However, your first experience with it will take some faith. It won't seem like you're memorizing your lines at first, but that is precisely what you are doing. The reading phase is based on the understanding that once you've read your lines off the page 3 times, you have them memorized. At no time during the reading phase will you make any conscious attempt to memorize your lines. You will allow the power of your subconscious to do all the work. Don't simply read the words. Warm up your body and voice, and then deliver your words as powerfully and clearly as you can. Don't rush. Read the words more slowly than you will in your performance. One thing to nurture while working on every phase of the 3-3-3 pattern. If you make an error, don't stop to correct it. Always keep your work moving forward. This will take some discipline. The reason for this approach will be made clear in the full training series, but create this mindset from the very beginning. It will result in quicker and more efficient accessing of your lines. Take the first page of the script on which your character has lines and read all the lines from the beginning of the page to the end of the page. You will read the other character's lines silently and determine how your character will be affected by these lines. This is how you practice listening during the scene. The process of reacting to what you hear on stage is the process of acting. Your cue will be the last word or phrase that is said before you deliver your lines. You will work on listening for your cue and delivering the first word of your line immediately after you hear the last word of your cue. Read it from the top of the page to the bottom of the page without stopping 3 times. After you have completed the first pattern of 3, you will divide your page into 3 equal parts. Select 2 short sentences or phrases that will connect the 3 sections. Take the first section through the reading phase 3 times, ending with the first linking phrase. Then take the second section through the reading phase 3 times, beginning with the first linking phrase and ending with the second linking phrase. After you have done this, take the third section through the reading phase 3 times, beginning with the second linking phrase and end with the final line at the bottom of the page. This final phrase will link these 3 sections to the next page. Then, you will once again read through the entire page from top to bottom 3 times to finish the 3-3-3 pattern. After you have completed the reading phase with this 3-3-3 pattern, the page will be memorized. Now, this doesn't mean that you'll be able to deliver your lines without your script just yet. It means that you have stored the lines in the memory of the computer that is your brain. The next step is to practice accessing the stored lines for delivery. At this point, fold a piece of paper in half to cover the lines on the page. As you move the piece of paper down the page, you will practice listening to your cue lines as they appear before you. As you do, you will be anticipating your line cue. When you see the phrase that will serve as your cue, you will look up from your script and focus at a point across the room as you deliver your line clearly and powerfully. Concentrate on shaping your words rather than creating a realistic delivery at this point. This approach will make them easier to access. At no time should you try to remember your line. As you focus on the point across the room, allow the line to come to you. If it doesn't, simply look at your script and either read it off the page or return to your point of focus and continue the line. Naturally, you're going to spend a lot of time looking at your script during the first pattern of 3. This is necessary to learn how your line cues play a role in accessing your lines. But with each pattern of 3, you will spend less time looking at your script and more time allowing the lines to flow. Resist the natural tendency to tense up or struggle with your line. Relaxation will increase your ability to access your lines. Tension will slow down the process. If the line doesn't come, simply look at your script and allow an accurate and powerful delivery of your line's flow. Keep the process moving forward. Resist the temptation to go back and correct an error. As with the reading phase, practice accessing your lines by going through the entire page 3 times. Then, practice accessing your lines through each of the 3 sections 3 times. End your pattern of 3 by, once again, going through the entire page 3 times as you practice accessing your lines. This will take you through the entire 3-3-3 pattern for the accessing phase. The last of the 3 phases is the acting phase. You will now use the power and clear delivery that you created in the first 2 phases to shape them into meaningful acting choices. Using the 3-3-3 pattern, you will move your paper down the page as you practice listening to your cues. As you see your line cue, you will listen to it in your head. You will then make acting choices as you deliver your line into the focal point without the aid of your script. Naturally, the first page will be the most challenging. You may find that you need to return to the reading or accessing phase to reinforce them more solidly. You may also find that there is a portion of the page that requires special attention. Be open to returning to earlier phases to get to a point where the lines come automatically. Once you master a page of dialogue in this way, you will find that your brain is reacting to the technique and that the lines will begin to come more easily. In fact, you will find that you will not only learn a page of lines more quickly, but that you will be able to learn more than a page of lines at a time. Always choose an amount of work with which you can be successful, but will also challenge you. The more you do, the better you will get. It's important to know your schedule. Set up your script to create a timeline. Once you discover how quickly you are able to own a chunk of your script, determine how many pages you will need to master. On the last page of your script, jot down the date you will need to know all of your lines. Then back up page by page and add dates to the bottom of the page that will serve as a daily deadline for when you will be able to take the page through the acting phase without your script. This daily schedule will discipline you to stay on track. One last reminder, be patient. When you begin this process, it may not seem as though you are making headway. You're likely to wonder if simply reading your lines and cues off the page serves any purpose. It does. Trust the process, and you will be pleasantly surprised that you don't need a good memory. You just need the technique and daily schedule. As I said, once you discover how effective this technique can be, you will want to work through the entire training session, so you will have a full comprehension of how and why it works. The link to that full training session is in the credits and in the description below. Break a leg.